Hi, I'm Alan V. Hare, the author and creator of Makeshift Stories. For the past few years, I've been writing and producing 2 new episodes each month. With over 300 episodes now in the feed, I'm thrilled to announce a new chapter for Makeshift Stories. I'm turning a selection of these tales into a book. To dedicate the time this exciting project deserves, Makeshift Stories will shift to a monthly release schedule starting in February. You can look forward to the same original and imaginative content now released around the beginning of each month. Your support means the world to me, and I hope you'll continue to listen, share, and enjoy the podcast. Along the way, I'll keep you updated on the book's progress, and when possible, surprise you with bonus episodes. Thank you for being part of this journey. I couldn't do it without you. Is there a place in time where logic breaks down and wonderment begins? Could that be somewhere at some time along an infinite line between the reasonable and the highly unlikely? Join us on a journey into the improbable. Makeshift Stories presents Episode 302, Reality Shift Part 2, read by Kathleen Connolly, opening and closing theme by Matthew Erdmann. Somewhere and sometime, your reality might prove as fragile as a pane of glass.
A faint scent tickled my nose as I led the way around the corner to see the other side of the old barber shop. "Are you smelling that?" I asked. "Smelling what?" Noah said, sniffing the air. "The perfume. It's the same perfume the woman who passed us on the street was wearing. We're being followed." I spun around and caught a shadow morph back into the silhouette of a picket fence, then ran to the corner of the building and looked around. But the fence blocked my way, and another faint cloud of bergamot and vanilla greeted me. "She's here! Noah, check the other side of the building." My cousin hesitated, giving me the look he used when he was mad at me. "Just do it! Go!" I yelled. A gate in the fence I hadn't noticed before drifted closed. I fumbled it open, stumbled on a discarded paint can, and fell into a narrow, cracked walkway littered with garbage, which ran between the building and a run-down 3-story apartment next door. The sound of scuttling footsteps receded around the far corner. I picked myself up and careened after them, cursing. Finally gaining my footing, I reached the corner and barreled onto the sidewalk, narrowly missing my cousin. "Did you see her?" I ducked around him and checked the street, just able to make out the back of a car accelerating away. "Sorry," Noah apologized. "I missed her." We stood there watching helplessly as the car, too far away to identify, made a turn at the far end of the street and disappeared. "Did you get a good look?" No, Noah avoided my eyes. I didn't react until I heard the car. "Great, so there's no chance of tracking it." "There is a CCTV camera around the corner," Noah noted hopefully. "Maybe it caught the car arriving." "Yeah," I sighed. "If it came down St. Matthew's and turned, but if not, it was my fault. If I hadn't ticked my cousin off, he might have reacted sooner and seen the license number." He shrugged and began walking away, but suddenly he stopped, bent down, and picked up a small piece of paper. "It's a receipt from a coffee shop in Minneapolis," he exclaimed. "Let me see." I grabbed it out of his hand. "Dated the same day I left home. What's the chance of someone from the Metropolitan randomly showing up here and dropping this?" "Seems unlikely," Noah agreed. "Are you sure it's not yours?" "I've never gone to that place," I dismissed. "Let's go. There's nothing more to be done here." When we returned to the apartment, Noah only took a few minutes to locate the coffee shop where the receipt had been issued. "That's just down the street from my house. Too weird. Unless..." I kneaded my temples. "Larry sent an auditor to check our work." "Why would he do that?" Noah asked. I flipped on my handheld and opened a connection to my Primate Council handler. "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." Connection refused. My heart jumped a beat at the response. I tried again. This time, the handheld claimed it had lost network access. I jabbed the power button, cycling the stupid thing off and on several times before moving onto the small balcony to get a better signal. The next call went on hold. As I waited, the traffic on the road below seemed to stream by forever. How long had I been on hold? They had never treated me like this before. I was a top adjuster, and the council always prioritized my calls. Come on, Larry. What's holding you up? Answer, I muttered. Thank you for contacting the Primate Council. Your call is important to us. The call center? My call was being redirected to a machine. What's wrong? Noah asked. I was routed to an AI on the General Exchange. I was tempted to throw the handheld off the balcony. It's gotta be a mistake. Hey, come look at this. Not now, Noah. I'm trying to get past the AI. I've been put into a queue. I think you'll want to see this, he insisted. I've got the footage from the CCTV camera near the old barber shop. And there's a video of our secret follower. I put the handheld back in my pocket and rushed back inside. Noah had a frame from a video queued up on his monitor. A blurry gray image was frozen in mid-step, crossing the street. Look at the timestamp. That's her. That's the perfume woman, he insisted. You can't see her face. That could be anyone, I argued. Wait, Noah scrubbed the video forward. The woman turned her head to check for traffic. There, a clear profile. No, it can't be, I gasped. You recognize her too, my cousin confirmed, zooming in on the frozen frame. She's decades older, but it's definitely her. She's the girl who lived across the street from Nana's. We played with her when we visited. What was her name? Sandy. No, there's an R in it. Her name snapped into my mind. Sandra, yes, that's it? Sandra. Parent. Ski? Noah guessed. Close, but it ends differently. Petrenko, yeah, that's it. Sandra Petrenko. I'm positive. But what's with the cat and mouse act? Why didn't she just talk to us, and why was she in Minneapolis? The receipt might not be hers, Noah suggested, watching the rest of the video. I don't see her drop anything, but she was definitely scouting the place out. I told you I've never been to that place, I reminded Noah. But you agree that it's Sandra? Noah nodded. Yeah, I'm sure. I never forget a face. I didn't bother pointing out that our forget use made that impossible. Noah anticipated my reaction. It's not a forget artifact. I'll always remember Sandra's face. Good. Then we need to run her name. I pulled out my handheld. It was still in a queue. Move over, I demanded, shoving my cousin off his seat and typing on his workstation, expecting auto-completion to fill in her name immediately. It didn't, and it only took a few seconds to understand why. She's not on the citizen list. National or local, Noah asked. Neither. It was a bad sign, and we both knew what it meant. She was not a real person. Sandra lived directly across from Nana's, right? My throat began to tighten as I opened a map and zoomed in. Ashburn Street, third house off St. Matthews Avenue. That's our Nana's old place, right, Noah? Yeah, Noah agreed and leaned over my shoulder. Sandra's house should be down one and across the street. I repositioned the map, hands shaking. A park. There was never a park there. We looked at each other. That's where her old house should be, Noah confirmed. Reaching around me, he clicked on the vacant property to bring up its history. Always been a park, that's not... Don't say it, I warned before Noah contradicted primate reality. It's always been a park, remember? I encouraged. You and I played there when we visited Nana. It took Noah a second to catch on. Right, yeah, of course, he agreed. We played there a lot. There's never been a house there, and Sandra, there's never been a Sandra. She was an invisible friend we made up, just harmless kid stuff. Noah corrected a bit too loudly. We both suspect the primate has hidden mics and cameras everywhere, especially for those who uphold its reality. I closed the map. Best not to linger, I mumbled, hoping our inquiries hadn't thrown up red flags. Should we check the lease car and confirm the removal arrangements? I suggested. Noah took the keyboard back. Let me confirm the address of the leasing agent. While he was distracted, I consulted my handheld, which had been kicked out of the queue. I made a note on it that the house and store didn't need a field check, then opened an app and configured a mild dose of Forget Nanos. Once the patches acknowledged their readiness, I pulled them out of my bag and slapped them against our necks. What had we been doing? My cousin's blank expression gave no clue. He was sitting at his workstation staring at the screen, a forget patch clinging to his neck. I felt for one on mine and tore it off. He did the same. The fog cleared, and I could think again. I've got a note on my handheld that the house and the store don't need to be checked, I explained. Noah blinked, then shook his head. Right. We're working on a job. Doing the pre-adjustment survey, I think. Was it me or you who applied the forget? Does it matter? We must have been exposed to something non-real. Just leave it at that. Okay, Noah turned back to his workstation. I've got an address for the auto cab leasing company. It's in an industrial park east of the river. We'll need to drive. Rusting oil storage tanks littered an abandoned fuel depot next to the leasing company's long-term parking lot. I pulled up to the curb beside a battered chain-link fence that had once been tipped with razor wire, which currently lay in a rusted pile at the far end. We got out and located a gate. Noah pushed on it experimentally. It's not locked and there's no one around. Let's look. Before I could object, Noah pulled the gate open and walked through. Nothing happened. You were expecting a guard dog or something? My cousin grinned. The place is drone patrolled. He pointed to a sign. As long as we don't touch anything, no one will show up. I made a face. Sorry, I should have mentioned that before, he apologized. I think they keep the older units that are not in regular use at the back. We walked past several rows of cars, checking their numbers. Unit 42 was in the middle of the last row, up against the fence, covered in dust. It hasn't been used for a while, I noted. Noah walked around the car, his expression telling me he recognized it. There was a scratch running along the passenger door where Noah had clipped 42 when he was backing out of a parking stall the last time I had come up to visit our family. They didn't fix the damage, I said, feeling a lump form in my stomach. Probably just took the insurance payout and pocketed it, Noah explained. It's a common practice up here when the damage is cosmetic. Let's go, I said and started to walk away from the unit. I don't like that this target is directly tied to us, Noah. We walked quickly back through the lot and out of the gate, then stopped dead in our tracks. There was a woman in her mid to late 50s leaning against our car. She had the eerie presence of a fading dream, mostly forgotten, yet not wholly gone. Her clothes were soiled from sleeping rough on the street. She waved at us. Let's find an auto cab, I urged, turning away. We don't want to engage that person. Hey there, the woman called out and started toward us. We need to talk. No, we don't. I started to pull Noah away. Wait. He tried to shake me off. We don't have time, Noah. I'll explain later. She was suddenly in front of us, blocking our way. I'm Sandra Petrenko. You both knew me when we were kids. I shook my head. That name means nothing to me. I lived near your great-grandparents. We played together, the three of us, the woman insisted. We used to play hide-and-seek in your Nana's backyard, remember? No, I don't. The woman examined my eyes. Oh no, she cried. You've had a recent hit of forget. No, I lied. I knew that voice but drew a blank on the face and name. We needed to get away before that voice triggered memories of non-real events. To my horror, Noah seemed oblivious to the danger and started talking. How can we help you? He asked. I'm Noah, and this is my cousin Nickie. I yanked on his arm, trying to pull him away, trying to get him to shut up and run. We really need to leave, I growled, inserting myself between my cousin and the non-person. Noah, there's no one here. Please, let's go. Noah stepped back, finally recognizing the signs. Oh. We turned and started to leave, both attempting to unsee the non-person. Wait, it pleaded, trying to grab Noah's arm. They're erasing anything that leads to the two of you. You're the target. I'm collateral damage. Nickie? Noah, you've got to believe me. In an attempt to prove the unreal person wrong, I pulled out my handheld and tried to connect with Larry again. This time, the response was immediate. Caller unknown. That can't be, I protested, pain cutting through my brain. I stumbled. Noah caught me, terror etched into his face. How did you know? How could you know anything? I spat back at the non-real person. Bile rose in my throat, and I emptied my stomach, then leaned against the chain link on rubbery legs. Are you okay? Noah helped me off the fence. We're targets? How could you know that? I repeated, gasping for air. There are problems with Forget, the woman stated coldly. The Primate Council has been hiding the truth for decades. The nanos don't work on everyone, and I'm one of those people. That's how I know. I worked for the Council of Historical Integrity in the Metropolitan. I was your handler for years, at least until recently. No, my handler's Larry, I protested, but suddenly wasn't entirely sure. Larry's an avatar. I think you know that. Maybe, but that doesn't prove you were Larry. Tell me something only my handler would know. The unreal person smiled. Of course, I should have done that first. As part of your final report, I always ask you if the pieces can be assembled. My heart jumped a beat. And I know you're not as thorough as you claim, Nickie. I've checked. But that's not why the council is after you. My brain entered freefall, the reality I had spent my life maintaining, shattering like a piece of glass. Larry, is that really you? The non-real person nodded. Is that why my connection requests are bouncing back? When did that start? She asked. Today. Sounds like they've moved up the adjustment. We don't have much time. What did I do? I pleaded. What made us targets for adjustment? I followed the rules. But with all the Forget I had injected over the years, could I be sure? Where did I mess up? How old are you, Nickie? Sandra asked. In your mid-50s like me, right? What does that have to do with anything? Everything. Have you ever met an old adjuster? I racked my brain to prove her wrong. It's nothing personal, she explained. The council doesn't like artifacts lying around, and retired adjusters are risky, inconvenient artifacts. What happens if you start remembering after your retirement Forget treatment? But that would never happen. It could. The possibility's not zero. You know now that Forget doesn't work on everyone, and it's not as good as the primate pretends. So they act to protect the historical record. Sandra hesitated. A month ago, I would never tell you this. I was given a Forget injection designed to erase my memories of you and Noah. Then I was reassigned to manage another adjuster, except I remembered you. That's when I discovered Forget doesn't work on me. I remembered everything. How we played together as kids, what great friends we had been. When I was ordered to direct my new adjuster to come up here to start erasing the peripheral evidence of your existence, I felt I owed it to you to look out for you and took a risk. I assigned the task to you instead, hoping you'd figure out what was happening. But the council discovered what I was up to. I fled and came here hoping you'd figure it out and make a run for the border. Then I'd sneak across too, but you didn't do that. I suspected something, I explained. But it wasn't until we discovered Unit 42 had a direct connection with Noah that I knew for sure. Then you showed up. I had to. I need your help, Sandra admitted, eyes darting around nervously. By the time I arrived up here, my bank account had vanished, and my handheld had been cut off. I only have another day or two before I'm completely erased and forced into an empty zone by the police. You're probably not far behind. All the pieces I had been trying to ignore locked into place, rudely forcing a new reality on me. We've got to get across the border. How far is it? I demanded. About 2.5 hours to the Central Economic Zone and 4 to the Great Plains border by car, Noah said, his voice trembling. Give your handheld to me, Noah. I grabbed it, rushed over to my car, and threw his and mine on the front seat. Drive to the Great Plains Economic Zone border, then stop and erase your history for the last 24 hours. I directed the autopilot, then slammed the door. The car dutifully started up and drove away. They'll figure it out as soon as the car stops, both Noah and Sandra said at once. But it will give us 4 hours to get to the Central Zone and file a refugee claim. Hopefully we still have our names. They don't accept claims from non-real people. It took 30 minutes to disable the tracking and autopilot in Unit 42 and another 30 to create additional misdirection, which involved making a detour to stop at a convenience store near Noah's apartment. The purchases wouldn't sync up in the timeline if we had headed west, but it would confuse our data trail. I didn't want the council thinking about the eastern border. and buying something was the only way to ensure our IDs were still on the official list. We had 3 hours remaining as we left the city heading east, Noah driving. "I'll be in today's queue for adjustment. My ID could be erased at any moment," Sandra warned, distractedly looking out the side window of the car as we passed through an empty zone packed with non-existent shacks and non-existent people. "They scrounge for survival, living off what they find in the dumps," she shivered, watching a non-person picking through a pile of trash as we sped past. "I couldn't do that. I couldn't survive like that." "We'll get to the border, and everything will be okay," I assured, trying to mask my lack of confidence. "Can we speed up, Noah?" He shook his head. "This is supposed to be an autocab. It's bad enough that it's an urban unit on a rural route. We can't afford to speed. Autocabs don't speed." I kneaded my hands and tried to watch the empty zone thin out into farmland. The farmland turned to forest, and the forest into rolling hills with rocky outcrops. I checked the time as we approached the border. We had 20 minutes before our decoy was discovered. Noah pulled off on the shoulder before the final turn. "Best not to show up in a stolen vehicle," Noah advised. "There's a bus in front of us. We'll walk across with its passengers." As quietly as possible, we slipped in at the back of the line. To my relief, no one noticed. At the front, Border Control scanned each person's face. The machine made a click when it completed a scan, then paused. 1, 2, 3, 4. I counted before the machine made a rising chime and a flashing green light on its top came on. The person at the head of the line was motioned through, and the line moved forward. One by one, the passengers in front of us passed through the scanning process with the regularity of a clock. Finally, it was Noah's turn. I spotted a dribble of sweat form on the back of his neck. He stepped forward. The scanner clicked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. His hands began to tremble, and he balled them into fists. The light on the scanner flickered, as if the machine was having trouble deciding. Then it turned a solid green. Noah quickly walked through. How long would it take the computers in the Metropolitan to notice a target trying to cross the border? My heart began to race as I went to step forward. A guard held me back. "Please wait. This citizen needs to make a connection on the other side." A harried-looking man cut in front of me was scanned and then let through. It was my turn. I stepped forward, trying and failing to look relaxed. The camera's eye dropped down and looked into my soul. Click! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My legs began to feel like jelly. 6. Sweat dripped down my back. 7. I was ready to run. The machine finally chimed, and the guard motioned me through. I hurried to the Central Zone side, afraid to look back. Ahead, Noah was talking to a border agent, pointing at me and gesturing for me to hurry up. A sour chime came from behind me. I turned. Sandra, my childhood friend, the color drained from her face, stood in the scanner like a deer in headlights, frozen, waiting to be run over. It took all my strength not to race back and drag her out of that infernal machine. "Nickie!" Noah was calling me. Sandra smiled wanly. We both knew there was nothing I could do. Reluctantly, I turned and walked away. We found someone willing to give us a ride to the regional center in Kenora, where we located a refugee support office. If Sandra was still being held at the border, there was a chance we could get her across. The staff helped try to locate her, but all our requests were met with the same response. "No such person exists." I wished her luck, hoping they'd banish her to an empty zone in the south where the winters were not as severe. "Sorry, that's all we can do." The refugee agent apologized. "Let me help with your claim." Not sure what life in an economic zone would be like, we accepted the offer and began to plan our future.
Hi there, it's Alan V. Hare. I wanted to share something we're absolutely loving right now, Play On Podcasts. Play On reimagines Shakespeare's timeless plays, bringing them to life with original music and incredible talent. Their current series, Julius Caesar, is a powerful adaptation that reinterprets Shakespeare's political drama through the lens of the civil rights movement. Directed by Harry Lennox and with a modern English verse translation by Shashir Karup, the production features standout performances by Michael Potts, Megan Boone, and more, all set to original music and sound design by Lindsay Jones. If you're a fan of Shakespeare or just great storytelling in general, be sure to check out Play On Podcasts' latest season wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to connect with us, please email makeshiftstories@gmail.com or visit our website at makeshiftstories.com. Links to both are in the show notes. Makeshift Stories is released around the beginning and middle of the month. This month's story was read by Kathleen Connolly and written by Alan V. Hare. Opening and closing themes were composed and recorded by Matthew Erdman. Audio production and editing by Vacada Studios. Makeshift Stories is released under a Creative Commons non-commercial, attribution, no derivative license.